Hi, everybody. So I'm Dawn Garcia, for those of you who don't know me, but you probably do, of A Taste of Dawn and ATOD magazine and all the other many sort of offshoots of A Taste of Dawn. So there's A Taste of Dawn Couture, there's my new wine program, which I'm very excited about. But really today, I actually wanted to just give you some writing tips because I'm a writer before I am anything else. Writing to me is like oxygen to my soul, and I really can't imagine not writing. It's just something that when I don't do it, which I haven't done because I've been focusing on a lot of other things, I had to stop myself and say, okay, now it's time to just sit down and really feed that part of me. But I wanted to talk about the style of writing and kind of give you some tips as a writer. My magazine, I'm recently looking for some new guest writers to be a part of the magazine, but I don't write typical standard journalism. So what happens is I end up getting all of these submissions, but they lack the color and the range that I'm looking for. So in my own writing and in my own career, the things that I believe in is that you should always write what you know. They always say that. And then I think you should also challenge yourself to write what you don't know and just expand outside of that horizon. But if you're going to write for my magazine, and really I think if you just want to be a writer in general, I feel like you do yourself a much bigger service by tapping into all of your senses when you're writing. I recently had a writer, she's just very new at it, and her piece lacked really the description, the observation. It was a very flat piece. And by flat, I just mean that she gave me the information, but there was nothing to it. There was no extra oomph kind of to what she was providing me. And when I have anything that I edit and review, what I'm looking for specifically are writers that aren't afraid to use sort of this emotional dance in their vocabulary, meaning expand your vocabulary. I don't need to be wowed by, big words and fancy terms unless they're necessary. So really I would say, like, if you're going to sit down, say you're going to be a food blogger, or you're going to be a food writer, which I prefer. I know blogging is a term. I'm not a blogger myself. I started out as a blogger, but I'm a writer by profession. So I feel like bloggers do it for a hobby, but if you really are a professional writer or it's something that you strive to do or perfect, do yourself like it's just a solid and expand your horizons and open yourself up to being a much more fluid writer. And by that, I mean when you're writing, there should be a tune to what you're saying, whether it's straight journalism or not. I'm going to speak outside of that because I do think that the best writing combines creative writing and traditional journalism. I think that really gives people a very significant standout voice. So, example, sometimes it helps to have an example. So if you were to sit down at a meal and you said, I went and I had amazing pad thai. Okay, that reads well, had a lot of color, it had a lot of spice, it had this. But as a reader, what I actually want to know is when you walked into that restaurant and you sat down to eat your pad thai, what was on the walls? Did you smell things when you walked in that room? Did you notice the people that were sitting in the booths? Did you happen to just pause and be quiet for a second to listen to the other conversations? Did you think about the sounds in the kitchen? Did you hear the clanging of the pots? Did you hear the sizzle on the stove? Did you smell a certain spice that just kicked a dish up and you could just smell it, you knew it? That's how you should write. You need to write not so perfectly. You need to write more heartily. And I would say that if I was sitting down to a Thai dish, a pad Thai dish, traditionally I would actually say, that I walked into a restaurant and the walls were adorned with, typically Thai restaurants have some sort of, there's Thai goddesses or Thai statues or very distinct symbolisms around the room, and there might be scrolls, there might be a traditional Thai painting, there may be a saying, there may be, if it's in LA, there might be like Hollywood pictures everywhere or signed autographs, or which is a very big thing in LA, the headshots with the autograph made out to the restaurant. Are there flowers hanging, or are there flowers or pots, on the walls? Are there rich colors on the wall, which traditionally, in most Thai restaurants, even the hole in the walls, there's always some distinct factor. And whether the food is good or not, Pay attention to your surroundings. Like walk in, I always joke and say I'm like a CIA operative. When I walk into a room, I survey it for everything, and I may not look like I'm paying any attention, but the minute I walk in, I know what's going on around me. I know the colors, the textures, the feels, the things. And granted, I've trained myself because my background is film, and in film, if you want to survive in film, you got to learn how everything works. I started out as a makeup artist, but I learned how wardrobe worked and lighting, and I knew what C-stands were, and I knew what craft service did, and I knew what gaffers did, best boys and electricians and editors, and I went to the daily room and I would watch pre and post production, because to me the mechanics behind it were very important. The mechanics behind being a writer are very, very, very important. You can't just sit down and write. If you want to really hone your skill, practice the art of observation. That alone will make you above and beyond what most writers are capable of. And when I say tap into your senses, even if you're writing a political piece, like when I was talking about how I would write a Thai piece, to me, I would actually pay attention to the smells that were coming from the noodles. Were there peanuts? Were there chunky peanuts? Were there slivers of peanuts? Were there crumbs of peanuts? Were there, were the noodles doused in sauce? Were they wet with sauce? Were they a little bit too dry? What did they use as an accent spice or herb? And all those things really just help define that dish, good or bad. And if it's bad, don't just say it's bad. Explain to me what was lacking, what was missing, and what could have made it better. And that could be the service, it could be the presentation, but be very specific and don't be harsh. There's absolutely never a need, in my opinion, to be harsh, because constructive criticism should be precisely that, constructive. And it's like a writer getting back a piece that's edited and somebody were to write, this is crap, but didn't tell you why it was crap. You are not going to ever be better as a writer. So I really just wanted to ask you all, maybe as an assignment, sit down, and next time you go sit down to a meal, or if you go to a movie, or you're just sitting at home watching TV, spend 5 minutes paying attention to every single facet of what's happening. If you're sitting at home, pay attention to the sounds that are happening inside your house or outside your house. Pay attention to the smells that you're smelling, to the things that you might be doing, the things you might be touching or tasting. And if you're eating, gosh, pay attention to everything, because texture is so important. And eating is a very sexy thing. So you should really be awakening, be attentive to your mouth, your tongue, the flavors that are culminating inside. If you're drinking a glass of wine, pay attention to the little subtle undertones, because you don't need to be an expert, you don't need to be sommelier, you just need to know if you like something, and if you do like it, is it peppery, do you taste any fruit, do you like the color, do you like the way it sits in the glass, do you like the aroma, and if you do, think about something that might be familiar. It doesn't matter if it's wrong or right, because it's purely based on you. So anyways, I know I'm kind of all over the map on this one, but this is such a big topic. I would just suggest that my first writing tip to all writers, whether you're going to write for my magazine, but especially if you're going to write for my magazine, or you want to write for my magazine or be considered, be observant and be very descriptive. Do not be afraid to sit down and expand your vocabulary. I don't want to know that you just went into a restaurant. I want to know that your feet stepped on cobblestone or pavement, or there was a crack in the road on your way there, or that you passed somebody or greeted somebody, or somebody bumped into your shoulder. Those kinds of things make for a good story. It should read like when I'm reading something that somebody writes, and I have some very talented writers, they're very descriptive, and they've learned, and they're getting better, and they're getting better and better and better. But it's knowing that if I'm sitting there reading something, every writer, what you really want, whether it's a straight journalistic piece or not, you want your reader to feel exactly what you are conveying. You want them to know where you are, what you're doing, how you felt while you were in that moment. And that's a really good piece of journalism. And if you wonder, straight journalism, go read anything that Sebastian Junger has written. Go to Vanity Fair. Go research him. His writing is beautiful, and it's detailed, and his is very straight journalism. But he does not allow himself to deny the emotional aspects of that. That, to me, is what I would love. So for those of you who are interested in writing, find your voice. And by that, find your voice in being unafraid, being fearless. And so today, it's a Wednesday, I get that, and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, at least on the Pacific Coast. So, on the Pacific Coast, Pacific Standard Time on the West Coast, coffee's just settling in. I want you to really write today. I want you to spend even 5 minutes and just observe what's around you. Sit and make a description of every single thing and touch on every single one of your senses. And then I want you to try and report back to me. And you can email me and I will give you my email. Send it to contact@atodmagazine.com. And I would like to see what you can do. And if you have questions, ask me questions, email me questions. I'm happy to help. I mean, I'm here because I want to make people as free to be as possible. And I think being able to express yourself so openly is such a gift that one should never deny themselves that. So anyways, I'm going to try and do these a little bit more frequently. I think writing tips are super duper important. And I'm no expert. I'm just a writer who really loves what I do, and I find passion in a pulse in words. And I think expression is very, very important. It's very healthy. So writing is also like this wonderful form of nonviolent expression. So even if you've got something going on, it's very healing. So I would recommend that you guys try to make a point of doing it at least every day, even 15 minutes. Completely for you, not for anything specific. Just write. Journals are important. I know we don't all write on paper anymore, but do it on your computer and your laptop. I know you all have one. So anyways, thanks for joining in. I am house sitting for my friend right now, so I am just kind of sitting here thinking about all the things that I myself need to be working on as a writer. So I'm going to spend my time working on my book, and every writer's a procrastinator, including myself. So it's easier for me to work on projects and sometimes harder for me to sit down and focus. So I'm just like everybody else, and I'm just trying to figure this out. So I'm going to finish and work on my book. And for those of you who are waiting for it, it's called A Melody of Words, and I'm hoping that it will be finished by the end of this week, if not next week for sure. But it will be out and available to pre-purchase in September. So thank you guys for always tuning in and for just being so awesome. And that is less than hopefully 12 minutes. Can you hang in there for 12 minutes? Okay, I'll try to keep them under 12. So that's it. Writing tip, tap into your senses. Observe, be descriptive. Do not be afraid of that. So that's it. Have a great day and write well, okay? And don't be afraid to open up. All right, bye, you guys. This is Dawn from A Taste of Dawn. Bye.